we're going to do best bets for Wednesday, and we're going to use it as a vehicle to talk about Raheem's process for betting and about how to bet the NBA nightly. Raheem, give me your first best bet, and then I'm going to cross-examine it.
Okay, I'm going to go with the Washington Wizards, Toronto Raptors, over 218.5. I think this total's way too low. This Washington Wizards team, they can't defend at all. Last year, they were about 20th in defensive rating. And I expect that to continue here. And then when you look at the pieces they added, Spencer Dinwiddie, they added Montrezl Harrell, Kyle Kuzma. This team should be better offensively than they were last year. So I'm expecting them to score. And then when you look at the Raptors, obviously they struggled in the half court last season. But they're not going to have any problem scoring against this Wizards team. I think this total is way too low. So I'm going over.
Okay, so right now, the majority of bets, we got 68% of the bets in Sports Insights are on the over. 79% of the money, however, is on the under. Let me check the consensus on that using our tool. Same data there. There's been a bunch of steam moves on the over, but there was late tonight, there was a steam move on the under 219. So it looks like the sharps are going to be coming in. There's more moves on the under than there are on the over here. So I can't argue there. I think my only concern is the Warriors or the Wizards just have more competent defenders, right? Like Kuzma was pretty good last year. KCP is legitimately a good defender at this point. Mm-hmm. Beal, I don't think so. Gafford, I actually didn't love how, like, I will say this, in preseason, based off of preseason, I like this bet because the Wizards did not look good, in my opinion, on defense.
Yeah.
Maybe the only concern is the Raptors, I think, starting unit is going to put up points even without Siakam, but they're shorthanded. Are you a little bit, no Siakam, so like, are you a little bit worried about that bench unit being able to carry it enough, or are we going to have like a drought in that second quarter?
I'm a little bit worried, but I watched this Washington Wizards defense, and it just was so bad, and I just can't escape that. And I think that's the problem with betting earlier in the season is that, like, a lot of times I'm basing it off of last year's numbers too. Yeah. As we spoke about earlier, and I have to base a lot of the stuff on preseason. And, you know, a big part of our Warriors bet was basically what we saw in preseason and their offseason moves. So I think I kind of just got to trust my eyes on this one and kind of just hope for the best. I really don't trust this Wizards defense, and I think they're going to be able to score. They would, like, when you look at their defensive rating, they were 30th in the preseason. So I think it's, I mean, 218, 219 is a low total in today's NBA.
It is. It really is. Which is why, like, I'm trying to, you know, and I'll say this, like, there's not a huge number of bets in on this relative to some of the other games. Like Memphis, Cleveland in our system has almost twice as many bets tracked. So, like, no one's coming in on this game, which is probably why we're getting the 68% over, 79% under split. I could see that being the case. There's been reverse line moves on the under consistently over the last day. This is what it looks like in Sports Insights. It definitely looks like they waited and it's starting to get hit over the last day on the under.
Interesting.
So I think that's kind of telling. Like, I honestly wonder if, I don't know, like, it's interesting to ask, like, it was 220 at open, it's 218. Do you, you're going to listen to this podcast, it may be lower in the morning when this podcast goes up. At what number, let's say it goes the other way though, let's say it goes up. What's the number that you don't think it's playable at?
Yeah, actually, the crazy thing is I have this total pegged at like 225 or so. Like, I have it like really high. So
at any number, it's going to be playable because it's not going to move that much over the next day.
Yeah,
so,
like I just have this total really high. So,
all right, what's your second bet?
My second bet is that I'm going with the Minnesota Timberwolves -5.5. This is not a model play for me. This is more of just a fade of the Houston Rockets. I don't think this team is really good at all. And I think obviously you have Jalen Green, you have Kevin Porter Jr., you got a bunch of young guys, but this is the team that I want to fade. And I think the Minnesota Timberwolves, they're on the way up with Finch as their head coach. So this is not really a model play for me. This is more of a, I'm gonna come out and try to take one of the teams that I feel like could possibly make the playoffs while fading a team that I feel like they're not going to be able to really stop anybody this year.
So I looked specifically for these kind of teams because when I started looking at, I was messing around in Bet Labs, and like you said this on Twitter, you're not a huge trends guy. I think the best people at our company are the ones that use trends as either a supporting or contrasting view. Like if you're really certain of a cap, but you look at it and you're like, the trend is really indicative on this one, that weakens my position or how much I'm going to bet on it, whatever. Or if you're like, it's just good to be like, look, they're good in the spot. Raybon does, I think, really well on the NFL pod with Stuckey. So here's one for you. This sounds like a really specific number, and I need to kind of explain it. So opening night is one that I'm really interested in. Home openers, crowd back, right? Like first game of the season, home crowd. That's a game you usually win. You got multiple days of prep for a team, which you do not have in the regular season because it's all about travel. Next game, you're just trying to survive and get through. But this first game, it's like having a bye week before. You have all this time to actually prep a little bit and practice going into a first game. You got fans back. That's a huge boost. So home teams, and here's what I looked at. When you get down to sub 200 on the money line, it's basically a coin flip. It's too narrow. Mm-hmm. And when you get over 300, the value is gone because those teams are too much of a favorite, and now you're winding up in kind of worrisome positions in terms of trying to cover big numbers, or they're too big of a favorite, so your ROI is going to be poor. But between minus 300 and minus 200, I found this one since 2003, Raheem. Home openers, game one. Money line between minus 300 and minus 200, favorites. 39 and 15 at 72%.
Wow. Interesting. That's a good trend. Wow.
Now, like you can look at it and say like that minus 300 to minus 200 is arbitrary.
Yeah.
But for me, when I look at it, I just wind up looking at that and going, okay, but it kind of fits it where if there's such an edge, the book is going to price your money line out. Right? Like they're just going to price it out to where you can't get any good value on it. They're going to keep you away from parlays and everything with it. And if it's an actually close game where it can go either way, they're going to tighten that and narrow it and shorten it to where you're looking at it and you're like, well, I'm getting a minus number, a short minus number, but the game's actually closer to a coin flip. It's closer to even. So based off of that logic, and I don't know if that's sound, but that's where I'm at. And this Wolves game absolutely qualifies here. Like this line is absolutely based off of the idea of what the Wolves were last year, not based off of what we're projecting the Wolves to be this year. Wolves were my best bet for win total over this year. They were my number one best bet by the end of the season. They even surpassed the Jazz in terms of how much I bet on them. This number is just too low. The Wolves under Chris Finch, I think, are much more organized. I think that this is a young team with the Rockets that's still going to struggle. Like, think about it. The Rockets are going into this game with Christian Wood, Daniel Tice, and Alperen Sengun. Now, those are three pretty good players. None of those players are going to stand a chance against an engaged, empowered, really ramped up Karl Anthony Towns. So I love like that kind of matchup. Additionally, I want to note this. You take that same subsect, right? Minus 300 to minus 200, and you make it the spread between 7.5 and 5.5, right? So you're not over, it's over a 3-point game. Right, so you're not basically in the last game possession. It's in that free throw range, essentially. 7.5 and 5.5, it's 26 and 18. It's 59%. Pretty good. That's against the spread. That's not just money line straight up. That's against the spread number right there. So I've got two indicators on that. I'm on the Wolves. I've got the Wolves in that round robin parlay I was telling you about on the money line, and I have them minus 5.5. This one I'm in with you on. The only way that this one, here's like what we have to be wrong on this one. We'd have to be wrong that the Wolves are better. We'd have to be wrong that Chris Finch is going to have a positive impact. We'd have to be wrong that the Rockets are inexperienced and going to struggle, and this is a rebuilding season. And we'd have to be wrong that home teams shoot the ball well in the opener and take care of business especially versus bad teams as a favorite in this spot. Like, there's a lot of things we have to be wrong about in this cap in order for this bet to be wrong.
Oh, yeah, I agree. And I think that's one of the things I like to do when you start off the season is that I think a lot of these numbers are softer on certain teams, and I think that's where you can actually get a decent edge because you're firing on teams before you have any idea. Like even tonight's Warriors game, like the opening line was like 4.5, and it kind of denotes that the Warriors weren't who me and you expected them to be, but who they were last year. So yeah, I think that's a good way to get an edge.
What's your third best bet? My
third best bet, I initially wanted to go with the Indiana Pacers +2, but right now there's some injury news that I'm waiting on, so I didn't really want to get into that. So that's a wait and see. If you're listening to this tomorrow, wait and see on Jeremy Lamb and who's going to be playing in that lineup. So I'm passing on that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a situational spot. I'm going to play the Miami Heat +1.5. We all saw the Milwaukee Bucks go out there and absolutely dominate and take the Brooklyn Nets into the deep waters and drown them. But in that game, they also lost Drew Holiday. They're still shorthanded. Bobby Portis is still out. They're missing a couple other guys. And they're playing a Miami Heat team in their home opener and their season opener. And this is a team that has added Kyle Lowry. They're a well-coached team. This is a team that lost to the Milwaukee Bucks and got swept in the playoffs. So I think it's a good spot for the Miami Heat playing a Bucks team that's kind of banged up and shorthanded. So I'm going to play that.
Oh, okay, so I've got this one based off of last year's numbers. I've got it at Bucks minus 2.8. So I'm getting like just about a point of value on this. Not enough for me to play it on the road, home opener, shorthanded. I don't think I can go with Miami. I will say this, like the Bucks in that opener. If you were going into this season with the idea, if you bet Bucks futures based off of the idea of they won the title and they're a different beast now, tonight was like proof of concept.
Yeah.
And like you don't want to overreact to that first game, right? And you actually probably want to underreact, and that would put more value on Miami. I am just kind of like, man, I don't think I want to bet against Giannis right now. Like, He's just such a monster. He's just such a beast. But you are getting, I will say this, not only did the Heat have this retooled roster, you got PJ Tucker, obviously like another guy to throw at him and just take charges, which is obviously like a big key in slowing down Giannis is picking up offensive fouls. But you also have Kyle Lowry, another charge machine, by the way. You have Kyle Lowry. So now you have like all of these guys who have beaten Giannis and the Bucks in the playoffs on one team. It's like a super anti-Bucks team is what the Heat kind of have built by adding Lowry. I don't think I'm going to follow you. I think I'm going to stay away from this one. I am going to be on the lookout for this one. I think next week we need to it'll be a week removed. So it'll feel like a million years away. But next week we need to go back to this one and look at this cap and see what the results were and how we kind of evaluate it.
Actually, I'm really curious to see where this line is going to go after tonight. It's 1.5 now. Actually, I think there's one book that actually has Miami as a favorite.
Ooh.
So so I think that's really interesting for me. So I want to see where this line goes, because it's not so much, and I want to stress this to people. It's not so much that you're playing the Bucks versus the Heat. You're playing the Bucks. You're playing the Miami Heat versus a shorthanded Bucks team that is coming off a blowout win. Yeah. And you're playing that situation more so than you're playing the two teams. And I think this is going to be a situation that's kind of it's lining up.
How long do we think Portis is out?
I haven't really heard anything. I think that's the thing. Like I'm right now, some of the tools that we actually use aren't necessarily working.
Yeah, we're still getting them operational.
We're still we have some technical difficulty with some of the tools that we use. So that's one of the things that I'm kind of settling in as we start. You know what?
I'll say this: he's got a hamstring. I'll say that he's unlikely to play. Drew Holiday injured that heel. That's the other thing, right? Is if they're without it, they got to be cautious. If they're without Portis, DiVincenzo, and Drew,
and Ojale,
then that line's gonna move. This will be Pick'em or Heat by the time that Thursday gets.
Yeah, there's literally one book. There's one book right now who has Miami Heat -1, and everybody else is sitting at Bucks -1.5 or 1. So
and and I'll say this, this is also a really advantageous spot. You never get look at headlines like this in the NBA. We're only getting this because it's the first week.
And I think you got an advantage if you're playing the Miami Heat +1.5. I think this will break through the 0.
Okay, let's say that after the Drew news, this gets hit overnight and it moves. What number are you comfortable? What's a stay away point if Miami gets favored? Is it 2, 3?
Yeah, I think at 2 I'm staying away. I mean, at -1 I'm not too mad at it. I think at 2 I gotta stay away.
Okay, all right. Can I add one more?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
All right. My last one, just to throw this on there, I bet Sixers when this line came out over the summer versus the Pelicans. I thought it was ridiculous. I was like, wait. The Sixers are 1.5 point favorites versus the Pelicans. And then the Zion news came out and it didn't move. So I bet it again. And then it's like, finally, it was like, all right, he's not going to be back for the opener because Griffin was so vague and acted like he was going to be back for the regular season opener. So they kept it up at 1.5. And then it came out that he's not going to play. So the Sixers moved to 3. And it moved even higher than that. It moved to 4.5 this week. And then here's the thing. All of the nonsense with Ben Simmons happened at practice. And so it moved all the way back down now to 3. And so I got it at 1.5 and I'm set. Like my position's good at 1.5. I don't need any more on this game. But I'm sorry. Even without Ben Simmons, the Sixers with Joel Embiid playing and everyone else healthy versus a Pelicans team without Zion Williamson, even on the road in the home opener, should be more than a 3-point favorite. Like, This has to be more than... Like, Raheem, I looked at last year's numbers. I don't know if you've got them on yours right now. Mm-hmm. Mine, based off of last year's figures, and I get Simmons was part of this, but based off of last year's full season numbers, I've got this 9.5.
I'm going to be honest with you. I actually have a 4.85.
Okay.
But so, I mean, obviously that includes Zion. And so it's just.
So like your number's like a lot more in line with this.
Yeah. Like mine is 4.8. So it's basically saying that Ben Simmons is worth about but it still doesn't make sense to me because there's no Zion. So I do think it should probably be around, or the line should probably be around 5.
Right. So you're getting 2 points of value. Is that enough to bet it?
I was actually thinking about this game. Is like this was one I was like thinking about choosing. And actually, there's a 2.5 in the market right now. So I think at 2.5, I'm willing to take it. At 3, I kind of want to. At 3.5, I'm not sure.
Play 2.5. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely played the 2.5. All right. The question I wanted to ask you is that you said you had a money line parlay. Did you have a round robin parlay? Did you have the Bulls in that parlay?
Let's see. I'm gonna be on the Bulls. I'll say that right now.
Okay, because I figured that's a popular parlay. Like,
no, the one I'm actually on it's Phoenix, Portland, Minnesota.
Okay,
those are the 3 because those fit into those categories. I got the Blazers versus the Kings that just had that Marvin Bagley flare up tonight, so that's even better for me. Portland's only minus 200, which in a parlay that's pretty good. I got I'm getting a good number on that, and then. Phoenix, I wrote the preview for this with the Nuggets. The Nuggets have not looked good. The Suns fill these categories. The Nuggets are like they do not. Ayton, like Jokic has issues with Ayton. The Suns bench is way better. Like this is a bad matchup without Jamal Murray for the Nuggets, and I think Suns home opener. I think they're going to put on like a Bucks type performance, and they're going to outpace them. So like I just don't think that I think the Nuggets are going to start slow for a number of reasons.
I really like this one, and I questioned if it was just priced properly because we all saw what the Suns did to the Nuggets in the playoffs, and I actually have this line around 4.5. Mm-hmm. And at 6, I was just like, you know what? Is this just? Are they making me pay an extra 1.5?
Yeah, I think it's. I don't think there's awesome value at 6. I'll say that.
Yeah, and that's how I felt about it. It's just like I feel like the Suns are going to win this game.
Yeah,
but it's just like I feel like I'm paying a premium for it.
That's why I'm on that money line. That's why I'm on that money line round robin. So we'll see how that goes, and I will lament how dumb I am next week on this episode. That'll wrap it up for Buckets. Thanks for joining us. You can follow Raheem Palmer in the Action Network app to check all of his picks. You can follow him on Twitter at DJR2Dizza. You can follow me on Twitter at HP Basketball. Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe. Give us those 5-star reviews. Please tell a friend about Buckets. Let's get this podcast going. Very excited for the start of the season. We'll be back on Friday with our Friday happy hour episode with Brandon Anderson. Until then, thanks for joining us on Buckets.